You make $100,000 a year. On paper, you have made it. You are no longer struggling. You are no longer at the beginning. You may even be earning more than your parents ever did at your age. People hear your salary and assume you are doing great. But then Friday arrives. Your paycheck lands. Bills leave. A credit card balance stays. Your car payment is due next week. Your rent or mortgage takes a huge bite. You tell yourself you will start investing more next month. Then something breaks. A flight gets booked. A friend gets married. Your insurance renews. The grocery bill is higher again. And somehow, despite earning a salary that once sounded life-changing, your bank account still feels like a waiting room between paychecks. That is not always a spending problem. It is often a system problem. A $100,000 salary can buy a comfortable life. But without the right structure, it can also create a very expensive version of being stuck. You look stable, you earn enough to qualify for debt, and you can afford just enough upgrades to make it hard to build real freedom. Today, we are going to break down why this happens. What a $100,000 salary actually feels like after real life takes its share. And the 5 shifts that can turn a good income into actual financial momentum. This is peak ledger. Let's get into it. The first trap is psychological. For years, many people treat 6 figures as the finish line. It is the number attached to success stories, job promotions, and the moment you finally feel like an adult with options. And in many parts of America, it is a strong income. But salary is not wealth. Salary is the amount you earn before life submits its invoice. Wealth is what remains after your expenses, your obligations, your risks, and your future are funded. Those are 2 very different things. Imagine 2 people earning the same $100,000 salary. Person 1 has no high-interest debt, shares housing costs, drives a reliable paid-off car, contributes automatically to retirement, and has a modest emergency fund. Their income has room to breathe. Person 2 has a large rent payment, 2 car payments in the household, credit card debt carried from a move and a vacation, rising insurance premiums, and a lifestyle built around relieving stress after work. Their income is already promised before it arrives. Same salary, completely different life. The dangerous part is that the second person may not look financially stressed. They may have the apartment, the car, the clothes, the restaurant photos, and the annual trip. But their financial life is fragile because it depends on the next paycheck continuing exactly as expected. That is what being financially stuck looks like at a higher income level. It is not always empty pockets. Sometimes it is a full calendar, a nice lifestyle, and no margin. Let's make this concrete. $100,000 per year works out to about $8,333 per month before taxes. But you do not get to spend your gross salary. Federal income taxes, payroll taxes, state and local taxes where applicable, health insurance premiums, retirement deductions, and other payroll deductions can take a meaningful share before the money even reaches your bank account. The exact number depends on your state, household, benefits, and deductions. But for many single earners, the monthly take-home amount can feel much closer to the mid-$5,000 range than to $8,333. That is the number that matters when your rent is due. Now take a realistic but not extravagant monthly life. Housing $2,200. Utilities, internet, and phone $300. Car payment, fuel, insurance, and maintenance $900. Groceries and eating out $850. Health costs, subscriptions, clothing and basics $450. Debt payments $500. Travel, gifts, social events, and the things that make life enjoyable $500. That is $5,700 before you have seriously built an emergency fund, invested outside a workplace plan, saved for a home, paid for a future child, helped family, or absorbed a surprise expense. Again, none of those numbers scream luxury. Metro areas, they are ordinary. This is why people making $100,000 can feel confused. They are doing better than they used to. They may be doing better than most people around them, yet their money does not seem to accumulate. The issue is not that $100,000 is nothing. The issue is that a 6-figure income is large enough to support a costly default lifestyle, but not always large enough to support that lifestyle, absorb emergencies, and build wealth at the same time. Most people do not suddenly become reckless when they get a raise. They simply start solving problems with money. A longer commute becomes a nicer car. A stressful week becomes delivery. A small apartment becomes a better neighborhood. An old wardrobe becomes an upgrade because work feels more serious now. A cheap vacation becomes a trip you feel you deserve because you have been working hard. Each decision is understandable on its own. The problem is that recurring upgrades do not arrive as one dramatic event. They arrive as subscriptions, payment plans, price increases, convenience fees, upgraded insurance, automatic renewals, and social expectations. That is lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is not buying something nice. It is allowing every income increase to become a permanent monthly obligation. Here is why it becomes so powerful at $100,000. You are finally earning enough to say yes. You can qualify for the lease. You can finance the car. You can put the trip on the card and reasonably expect to pay it off later. You can move into the apartment that feels more like the life you were promised. But every yes quietly reduces your future choices. A higher salary should make you more flexible. Instead, lifestyle inflation can make you more dependent on the salary. That is the paradox. You can earn more and become less free. The question is not, can I afford this payment? The more useful question is, if I lose my income for 6 months, will this decision still feel smart? That question is not meant to make you fearful. It is meant to expose whether your lifestyle is supported by assets or only by employment. For many households, financial stuckness is not caused by coffee or streaming services. It is caused by the two biggest payments that quietly set the shape of everything else: housing and transportation. Housing is emotional. It is safety, identity, location, privacy, and status, all in one bill. Transportation is emotional too. It is independence, comfort, confidence, and sometimes the reward you promised yourself once you earned more. But when both costs rise at the same time, they can trap a 6-figure salary. Let's say you move to an apartment that is $600 more each month because it is closer to work, safer, newer, or simply feels more appropriate for your income. Then you buy a car with a payment that is $350 more than your old one. That is $950 per month. Over a year, that is $11,400 of additional after-tax cash flow. Over 5 years, before considering rent increases, financing costs, insurance increases, or investment growth you gave up, that is a major life decision. And it does not feel like a major decision because it arrives as 2 normal upgrades. This is not an argument that everyone should live in the cheapest place or drive an old car forever. Quality of life matters. Safety matters. Time matters. But you need to recognize that big, fixed costs create a financial personality. Once your housing and transportation costs are high, nearly every other choice becomes defensive. You cannot easily change them next month. So you cut investments. You delay savings. You use credit cards for irregular expenses. You tell yourself you will fix it after the next promotion. That is why the highest impact financial decisions are often made before you ever open a budgeting app. The next issue is debt. Debt is not always a moral failure. People use it during emergencies, moves, layoffs, education, family obligations, and periods when the cost of living outruns what they bring home. But high-interest consumer debt is especially dangerous for 6-figure earners, because it creates the illusion that you can carry it. You make enough to keep making the minimum payments. You make enough to keep using the card after paying some of it down. You make enough that lenders keep offering more credit, so the problem can survive for years without looking like a crisis. A $10,000 credit card balance is not just a number. At a high interest rate, it is a monthly claim on your future work. And if you add new charges while trying to pay it down, you can spend a long time moving without making real progress. The same is true of buy now, pay later plans, personal loans used to cover lifestyle gaps, and car loans that consume too much of your monthly cash flow. Debt reduces your options twice. First, it takes money from every paycheck. Second, it makes you afraid to make a change, take a career risk. Leave a bad job, move to a cheaper city, start a business, or take time off because the payments do not pause just because your life changes. This is why debt payoff is not only about interest, it is about reclaiming your future income before it has a job assigned to it. If you have high interest debt, The goal is not perfection overnight. The goal is to stop treating it as a permanent feature of your financial identity. Make it visible. List the balance, interest rate, minimum payment, and payoff plan. Build a small cash buffer so every surprise does not go back on a card. Then direct extra cash toward the highest cost debt first, while still taking any employer retirement match that is available to you. Specific choices depend on your situation, but the principle is simple. Money that leaves your account to pay high interest cannot also build your freedom. A financially stuck person usually has one thing missing: margin. Margin is the space between what comes in and what must go out. It is not glamorous. Nobody posts a photo of their cash buffer. But margin is what turns a problem into an inconvenience instead of a crisis. Without margin, a car repair becomes debt, a medical bill becomes debt, a job loss becomes panic. A family emergency becomes a financial disaster, layered on top of an emotional one. At $100,000, it is easy to mistake income for margin. You think I make good money? I can handle it? But handling something with next month's paycheck is not the same as being prepared for it. A useful first target is not a perfect investment portfolio. It is a boring cash reserve built for your actual life. If your required monthly expenses are $4,500, then a $500 emergency fund is not really an emergency fund. It is a small delay before you reach for credit. Start by building a first buffer that prevents ordinary surprises from becoming new debt. Then build toward several months of necessary expenses calibrated to your job stability, household responsibilities, insurance coverage, and ability to reduce spending if needed. This is where people often make a mistake. They try to invest aggressively while their entire financial life is one bad week away from the credit card. Investing matters, but stability comes first. The best investment plan is the one you can continue during an inconvenient year, not only during a perfect one. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A good salary creates the possibility of wealth. It does not automatically create wealth. Wealth begins when part of your income starts working without requiring another hour of your time. That can mean retirement contributions, diversified long-term investments, a growing cash reserve, ownership in a business, or eventually a home situation that supports rather than drains your finances. But if every raise is consumed by a larger lifestyle, your income grows while your ownership stays flat. You may earn more every year and still have little to show for it beyond better expenses. This is why automation matters more than motivation. Motivation is unreliable. You are tired after work. You have social plans. You get busy. You mean to transfer money later? Automation decides before your emotions do. When you get paid, the order should be intentional. First, cover essentials. Second, protect yourself with a cash buffer and insurance appropriate to your situation. Third, capture any employer retirement match. Fourth, pay down high-interest debt. Fifth, direct a defined percentage toward long-term goals. The exact order and percentages can change depending on your debt, benefits, dependence, and risk tolerance. But the critical move is to make progress automatic before lifestyle spending gets access to the money. Do not wait to see what is left at the end of the month. For most people, nothing meaningful is left at the end of the month, not because they are irresponsible, but because every other company in the world has already automated a way to bill them. Your financial system needs to be automated too. So how do you stop feeling stuck on a $100,000 salary? Not by pretending you should be grateful for stress. It's not by cutting every small pleasure out of your life. Not by trying to become a spreadsheet robot. You change the structure. Shift 1. Measure your life using take-home pay, not gross salary. Your gross salary is useful for negotiating jobs. Your take-home pay is useful for living. Build your budget around the amount that actually reaches your account, then include irregular costs, annual insurance, holidays, car repairs, memberships, gifts before they surprise you. Shift 2. Set a ceiling on your biggest fixed costs. For upgrading housing or transportation, calculate the all-in monthly cost. It's not just the rent or the car payment. Include insurance, parking, fuel, maintenance, utilities, furnishing, and the trade-offs. Big fixed costs deserve a waiting period because they are hard to reverse. Shift 3. Create a wealth transfer on payday. Name it whatever you want. Freedom, transfer, future you payment, opportunity fund. The name matters less than the automation. Every payday, money should move toward a buffer, retirement, investing, or debt payoff before it becomes available for lifestyle upgrades. Shift 4. Make your lifestyle spending visible, not shameful. You do not need to stop enjoying your money, but you need to know what your enjoyable life costs. Review the last 90 days. Find the categories that actually improved your life and the categories that were simply friction, stress spending, or forgotten subscriptions. Keep the first, reduce the second. Shift 5. Define what enough means before your income rises again. If you do not decide what enough looks like, your lifestyle will decide for you. Maybe enough means a paid-off car. Maybe it means a 6-month emergency fund. Maybe it means investing 15% of your income. Maybe it means being able to leave a job without immediate panic. The point is to create a finish line for spending, so every raise does not become another starting line for expenses. If you earn around $100,000 and feel stuck, here's a simple 30-day reset. In week 1, pull your last 3 months of transactions. Do not judge them yet. Sort them into 4 categories: required bills, debt, future building, and lifestyle. In week 2, find your true monthly baseline, the amount you need to keep life operating without pretending that groceries, insurance, transportation, or annual expenses do not exist. In week 3, make 1 meaningful fixed cost decision and 1 automated money decision. The fixed cost decision might be delaying a car upgrade, negotiating an insurance bill, changing a housing timeline, or choosing not to add another monthly payment. The automated decision might be a recurring transfer to savings, increased retirement contribution, or a focused debt payment schedule. In week 4, build a plan for your next raise, bonus, tax refund, or unexpected windfall before it arrives. Decide in advance how much will protect your future and how much can improve your present. This is not about becoming perfect in 30 days. It is about proving to yourself that your money has a direction. Because the real opposite of being financially stuck is not being rich. It is having options. Options to handle an emergency without panic. Options to say no to a bad job. Options to take care of people you love. Options to spend on something meaningful without needing months of recovery afterward. A $100,000 salary can be the beginning of that life. But only if you stop measuring success by what the salary lets you buy and start measuring it by what the salary lets you keep. If a 6-figure salary still feels tight, you are not broken and you are not alone. The world is very good at helping you spend a good income before you have the chance to build a good life with it. The solution is not to hate money or avoid every upgrade. It is to make sure your income buys more than appearances. Make it by margin. Make it by ownership. Make it by time. Most importantly, make it by options. If this helped you see your income differently, subscribe to Peak Ledger. Here we break down the numbers behind the financial choices that shape your life. And in the comments, tell me this: what is the 1 monthly expense that gives you the least value for the money? I'll see you in the next one.